you have played an election observer role in Zimbabwe as well. And back in 2000, and I think it was 2003, when the Commonwealth had then decided that they must suspend Zimbabwe. Can you take us back to that moment? Why was it so important that Zimbabwe be suspended?
Well, it was not a personal decision of mine. It was a decision of the Commonwealth. And the problem was what was happening inside Zimbabwe then in terms of human rights, in terms of breach of what some Zimbabweans regarded as their breach of constitution. But the truth, from my own personal point of view, was that what was agreed at the point of negotiation for independence of Zimbabwe, which was that land, which was part of what was being negotiated. Mm-hmm. And I think it was only in Zimbabwe that land was an issue that was put on the table when the issue of independence was being negotiated. And it was an issue of willing buyer, willing seller. But the British government at that time definitely promised to make some money available. The British government was not living up to its
promise.
Well, a promise or commitment.
Commitment.
I will put it as commitment. And President Mugabe exercised patience for 20 years because the constitution that he had, he could not amend it for 20 years. And after 20 years, he made sure that he amended the constitution in such a way that he could override whatever was agreed or negotiated, since the other side was not keeping up to their own commitment. I think that really was what was the beginning of all the other things that happened in Zimbabwe.
You don't think it was because of the accusation of election rigging as well during the time?
Well, I said that was the beginning.
Yeah.
Election 2 was not as it should be. And there was also the new political party, which was seen as being sponsored from outside. And therefore, that angered President Mugabe and those who saw themselves as the veteran fighting for independence. And it's, once you move from that fundamental position of the agreed points or agreed matters at independence not being kept, then other things follow.
Do you think that President Mugabe failed the nation?
Well, how do you say that? As I said, land issue was part of what was negotiated. And he held himself to making that land issue an issue to be, for him to deliver upon, or to make sure he deliver on that. Now, on that, you may say that he was right. Now, the management of the economy after that, because a lot of other things came up, of course, the management of economy got out of hand. And you have super inflation and the economy and all that. And there you can say he failed the nation.
What would you say about his removal then, from office?
Well, somebody asked me what was it? Was it a military coup, or was it a civilian coup? I said it was partly military and partly civilian. And you know that even the people who carried it out were quick to say it was not a coup. It was not a coup. But
do you say it was a coup?
They said it was not a coup.
No, but do you say it was a coup?
I say it's partly a coup, and because it was the military was involved. But the person who took over is the man who normally would have taken over constitutionally if President Mugabe has left office or something has happened to him. So you can see how it became partly a coup and partly not a coup.
But you've always been against the military being involved in the politics and as well as the governance of the country.
Even in my country.
Yes, yes.
Even when I was
Definitely.
there, I quickly prepare program to hand over to civilians.
Then what do you make of the state of Zimbabwe? Because if you speak to some Zimbabweans, they'll say that this country is being governed by the military instead of by the president, who has been elected by the people.
I was talking to a Zimbabwean earlier on today, and his idea is that there's too much presence of the military. But I have seen a situation like that in my own country. And I was saying to him, what is the way out? He was talking of reform. And I said, well, until, and they said the way it worked for us in our own country was that the military overplayed their hands and they became unpopular. I believe that the military normally enjoy whenever they have opportunity to extend their influence beyond the barrack. I think that's normal, and it is when that goes into excess that you can really call them back and put them.
What should happen in Zimbabwe?
I don't know what will happen.
Or what should happen?
Well, what should happen is that the excesses of the military must be controlled. The military must, the place for the military is in the barrack, and not in shops and on roads and marketplaces. Their place is in the barrack. And for training and preparing for themselves for a war that they may never fight, but getting themselves ready just in case.